It is my distinct pleasure today to be joined by the Honorable James Damiano, Mayor of Little Falls, New Jersey. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited for what's ahead.
We are now 6+ months into a pandemic, but Little Falls is thriving. There's a lot going on here. I specifically wanted to ask you about a couple different issues, one being the farmers market and maybe some other pandemic-related issues. But let's start off, I want to ask you about your background. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your family and how you got your start in politics.
Sure, so I really am a Little Falls local. Born here, raised here, raising my own family here. I went to the Little Falls Public Schools, then on to Passaic Valley High School. I then went to Roger Williams in Rhode Island for my undergrad, and then off to Seton Hall Law School for my Juris Doctorate. And that concluded my education and landed me right back here in Little Falls.
Let's talk about the farmers market, right? So as the pandemic kicks in, of course, a lot of things shut down across our state, across our country. But a big success here in town was the farmers market opening back up and really thriving on Sundays. Tell me about that and what people can find there and what it means to you.
Sure, so the farmers market was something that had a lot of planning go into it long before the pandemic was even on anybody's radar in the slightest bit. What was somewhat alarming, of course, was when the pandemic hit, and the question then became, do we proceed with the farmers market? And it turned out, in light of everybody being so afraid to go to, whether it be ShopRite or the local grocery stores, it turned out what better place to go than an outdoor, open-air market to get some of your produce, to get some of the things that you may need anyway. And it has turned out to be just an incredible success. And it's been running now almost through the entirety of the pandemic. And it has been a real tribute to Little Falls and how resilient we really are here in town.
So tell me a little bit about the farmers market now, because it's a little bit beyond just some fruits and vegetables. I heard there was a llama there this week.
It's actually an alpaca. There was an alpaca.
Wow.
We have a vendor there who sells all alpaca products. They take good care of these alpacas. They join us from West Milford area, and they make things such as hats, gloves. So they have a lot of fun things. There's a lot more there than just some produce, for sure.
So look, there's been a lot of changes in town, and there's some development, right? And the town's growing, certainly with people leaving the more urban areas around the New York area, the tri-state area. They're coming out to the suburbs. Tell me how you're seeing that happen out here, and give me a little update on what's going on in town, how it's growing.
Sure. The housing market in Little Falls has been incredible. I think it really is a tribute to a lot having to do with our schools and how tremendous our schools have been performing. Everybody across the board has really been all hands on deck, really making Little Falls a desirable place to live. And a lot of the development that we see coming in, I think, is going to be a very hot commodity. And it's, I think, going to be very well received once it's actually constructed. And I think it's going to be a real asset for us here in Little Falls.
So I want to ask you about voting coming up. You and I sit here at the end of September 2020, and we have an election coming, November 3rd, Tuesday. And there are a lot of concerns by residents, not only in Little Falls, but across the state and country, about safely voting. And so this is a perfect opportunity for me to ask, what is Little Falls doing to help facilitate safe voting? And I know you've made some accommodations. I think there's a voters drop box. So tell me about what's going on.
Sure. So this year is a very different election. On a personal level, I enjoy going to the polls on election day. I enjoy pressing the buttons, and I enjoy walking out of that booth. Unfortunately, this year, the governor's executive orders, for safety reasons, for reasons that they couldn't find enough poll workers, for various reasons, opted to move the entire election to a vote-by-mail process. What that means is that each county clerk will need to mail all of the vote-by-mail ballots to every single registered voter in the county by October 5th of this year. That means we should be receiving them in short order or shortly after October 5th. Once you receive your ballot, there's several options that you have. One is you can fill it out, return it to the mail through the United States Postal Service, as we always have in the past, and it will be delivered to the county clerk. I know there's a lot of people that are very uncomfortable with the idea of using the United States Postal Service this year. So what the county has done is that in each municipality, and some bigger cities have multiple drop box locations, as you indicated, ours is located between the entrance to the municipal building and the police station at 225 Main Street here in Little Falls. And what you can do is once you fill out your ballot, you can bring it there anytime before Election Day and drop it off in the ballot box. That box is monitored by a camera 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's monitored by our police department because it's located right outside their building. The other option that people have this year is to return that ballot to the poll workers at the polls on Election Day. Now, you may be asking, why is there a polling location if everything is vote by mail? The simple answer to that is, if you have a disability and you're unable to complete a vote by mail ballot and you have a valid doctor's note, you're able to use the machines at the polling location in Little Falls, which has not been designated yet, but in the past it had been Passaic Valley, at least for the primary election. So the best, I believe, method to vote this year is going to be to utilize that drop box at the municipal building.
Mr. Mayor, the Honorable James Damiano, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I really appreciated you having me here.